All right, today we're going to be doing lab 4-3, and for that we're going to go ahead and get onto the University of Arkansas VMware, and we're going to go ahead and get into Tableau. First thing we're going to do is we're going to go over we're going to import some data from a Microsoft SQL Server. The server is what we've used before. And the database is going to be WCOB Dillards. All right. And then we're going to click sign in. All right, so here we can see that it's now brought us into the WCOB Dillards database. We're going to choose new custom SQL, and it's going to take a little while to load. All right, and it loaded up, and it took a little while to load, so I was just going to save you all the time of having to sit there with a blank screen. And now what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to go and type in select. So we're going to select state, and we're going to average the transaction amount. And we're going to rename it as average. We're going to pull it from the transact. Then we're going to inner join it with store on what will be store. So we're going to join it by the stores with transact and store. And we're going to group by the state. All right. All right, now that we have all this written out, we're going to go ahead and click OK, and it's going to run it. And here we can see that it has ran it successfully. What we can see here is we have our two things that we've pulled. And what we can actually see here and over in here on the left as well, that it has the ABC here. So this is it's essentially just saying it's lettering, it's a string, and then we have a pound or a number sign here telling us that it's a number. So that way it tells us what type of the data we have here, and we're going to be changing this into geographic data, which is what we'll be going through in this lab. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to change this state right here over to geographic data. So we're going to click the ABC right there. We're going to go to geographic role, and we're going to click state/province because it's state data. All right, and then we're going to go to our worksheet. So now that we're in our worksheet, what we can do over here is we're going to double click on state, and there we go. So it's executing, and then once it executes, it'll show us all the states right here. So here we can see all 50 states, and everything that we have in our data set is going to have a blue dot. But we don't just want the states, we also want the average. So we're going to come over here and we're going to click on average. And right here, so now we can see whenever we hover over it, it has our average right there. So we can see the average for Nebraska is going to be 19.34. The average for Kansas is 20.6, and average for Texas is 21.9. So now we have our averages per our state shown in a geographic and visual way. If we want, we can show some of the flexibility that we have with Tableau. So we can like change the type of map that we have. So now, depending on the type of color, will show us what the highest is. So as we get darker, we get a higher average here. And so we can kind of show that way. And it's just different ways that we can show the same data. All right. All right, so now we want to bring some more data in. So we're going to go up here to data, new data source. We're going to go back over to Microsoft SQL Server. We're going to keep all this the same, and because we're just going to bring this back in. We're going to click sign in again, and it's going to bring us back here. right, so once you get to this page here, we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna pull our transact over here. And then we're gonna pull our store over here. There we go. And so, and down here we can kind of see, what relationships we used to join. It looked through the transact and it found store number, and it looked through store and it also found store number. So it said that this was the best way to kind of join these two together. And so it's automatically done that for us. And so now we just have our data here. Okay, now what we're going to want to do again is, like what we did with the last time, we're going to change our state right here to geographic state province. That way we can actually use this data in our visualization, and we're going to go back over to our sheet 1. And as you can see here now, we have a lot more information on our left side. We have the store table and the transact table, but we can still see here that we still have these, we still have the previous things that we were mapping out. So we're going to go ahead and remove these right here. And then it's going to give us a blank slate that we can now work with. So I will say real quick, what I did is I went back over to our data source here and I changed our performance options under our join to make sure that all our records match. That way we get an exact match for each of our records, rather than having some that, rather than it, saying that only some of them match, it should say that all of them match to make sure that it will work properly. And we'll go back over to sheet 1. So as you'll see, I kind of had to backtrack a little bit there. What I ended up doing was actually an association and not a join. Right here now, though, you'll see that we have now joined the two, and we can see here that it's considered an inner join. Essentially, what you had to do is whenever you pull transact over here, you double click on it, and it'll bring you to this, and then you drag store on it, and it'll create that inner join. What we also need to do is we need to change back our state information from just a string of words to actual geographically meaningful information. If you don't do that, then it will still read it as just a string of words or a string of letters rather than actual meaningful information that we will use in the Tableau part. Okay. Okay, and now we're back to our sheet 1. And so before you do anything, you want to come up here to our custom, and you're going to want to go ahead and close out this custom. You're going to get a message here, and we're going to say okay. That's because if you try and use any of these without closing out that custom, it's going to mess with the kind of the relationships that are made between the two, and then you'll get an error message. All right, so now we remove that, we can go ahead and throw our state back in there and make sure it's our geographical information. All right, so here we see it. And then we're going to want to drag our transaction amount over here. And it should show us our transaction amount per state. And there we go again. So now we can see there we are. So now we're getting these numbers of the total transaction amount per state. So if you remember, we don't actually want the sum of the transaction amount. We want the average. So, and it'll usually default to sum. So in order to change that, we're just going to come over here to this side, and we're going to go to our measure, and we're just going to click average. And there we go again. And now we have our averages shown by state. All right, and like we did with the last one, we can just come over here and we can see it this way. And what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to focus on Arkansas. So we're going to go here and we're going to click keep only. It's going to execute, and there we are. Okay, and now we're just going to throw our city data in there. So now we want to look at the cities within Arkansas and the averages amongst the cities. So here we can see Fort Smith, Fayetteville, Rogers, Little Rock, North Little Rock, Heart Springs. So now we can see all this information by city using the average transaction amount. So an easier way the an easier way to see this data would probably be in the horizontal bar chart. So we can see here now that it's a lot easier to see all of the information at a glance, and you're not searching around for all the little dots of what cities we have. We can see here that our Maumelle online, that is our online store. So those are all the online transactions. So this looks good, but we want to add a bit more information. So we're going to go back to our data source. And we're going to go into our little join here that we have for transact, and we're going to go ahead and add in our SKU. So we're going to add that into there, make sure that joins with that. And then we're also going to add in our department and make sure it joins in with our. And so here we are, we have the department interjoining with SKU, and our SKU interjoining with our transact, and we still have our store that's interjoining with our transact right there. And then we're going to hit update automatically. So now it has all the information updated. And we're going to go back over and we're going to double check our store with store one is, yep. So everything is looking good for information wise. All right, so now we're going to come back over to our sheet two. And like we did with Arkansas, we're going to do the same with our online. So we're going to keep the online only. And what we want to do is we want to create a kind of a hierarchy. So we want to take our department decade and drop it on top of our department century. And it's just going to say right here, we're going to say okay. And then what we can do is we can just come over and drop this on. It's going to take a little while, and there we go. And so now we have all this, and now if we click this plus button, should, oh, there we go, okay. And now it breaks it out even more. So now we can see here, shoes, better shoes, children's shoes, men's shoes, and we can see really very detailed of what's going on in what's being purchased on the online store. All right, so that should be it for part 3. And what we should be done with Tableau. So we're going to we'll just click remind me tomorrow for that. And what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and open up our Power BI. So Microsoft Power BI right here. So we're going to go ahead and open that up. And we're going to let that load up. All right, so our Power BI has loaded up. So we're going to go over Get Data, SQL Server. Same server that we've always used, SQL1. And we're going to want the WCOB Dillards again. All right, and so we're just going to have it import, and we're going to click OK. We're going to use the credentials. We're going to connect. Okay. And here we are. We have our database right here. Okay, so now the tables that we're going to want to pull in are the department, the SKU, the store, and the, oh, it's not wanting to click these. All right, and the transact. Okay, we're going to click load. We're going to go ahead and let this load. Okay, so we loaded them in. So what happened was it was taking a long time to load because we were doing a direct import. What we wanted to do was do a direct query. That way it doesn't have to import all of the data that we have in here. So now that we have all of our data in, what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to hit our store. We're going to click on our state. It's going to take a little while to load. And so we can see here, we're kind of looking at the same thing that we saw as we were using Tableau. Same kind of map with our dots. And next we're going to go to our transact, and we're going to click our transaction amount. It's automating it to become sum. So it's doing the sum of the transaction amount by state. But what we can do really quickly is go through here. And right here on our bubble size, as you see, it says sum. We can just come down here and we'll just click average, and it'll take a little while, but it'll load it out to our average transaction amount by state. So see, now we have now we're showing our data as the average transaction amount by state based on the size of the bubbles. All right, so we're going to want to drill down again. So what I'm actually first going to do is I'm going to go ahead and make this smaller, and I'm going to right click, copy visual, and then we're going to come over here and we're just going to hit Control V, and it should hopefully let us copy it in. Oh. No, we don't want that. There we go. All right, so now we have it copied in. So we're going to go pull this off over the side here, and we're actually going to make this one a little bit bigger because this is what we'll be working on. We're going to click and make sure we click on the new one that we just created. And we're going to come over here to our clustered bar chart. And we're going to click clustered bar chart, and it's going to show us all the averages by state in a bar chart. So here we are. Okay, so now that we have it as a bar chart, what we're going to do the same thing that we kind of did on Tableau. We want to make sure we take it down to just Arkansas. So what we're going to go is over to our filter area here, and then we can see that, and we're just going to click on Arkansas, and that should bring us down to here, just Arkansas. But this looks kind of boring with it being just one straight line. So what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to go ahead and click city. And that should bring, there we are. So now we can see all the different cities that we have here within Arkansas. So now we can see which ones have the highest by city. And we can see that is the same as on Tableau, with Maumelle online having our highest average transaction amount. Okay, and now we're going to do kind of what we did with our other one. We're going to go ahead and copy this visual. And then we're going to want to create another one. It'll like to load for us. Go ahead and make this smaller. All right, so now we have copied it. We're going to go ahead and make this one bigger. And now what we want to do for this one is we want to focus down just on the Maumelle online. So we're going to go over to our city here, and we're going to do kind of like what we did with Arkansas, but with just Maumelle. So we're going to click on Maumelle, and it'll change it to just this. But this looks a little boring. Since this is so boring, what we're going to do is we're going to come over here. We're going to create another hierarchy with our, like what we did before with our decade and century. Should just drag it right on top of there. It's not wanting to. Okay, one moment. Okay, so what you want to do with the newer version is come over here to the right side of the more options. And so you're going to come over here, you're going to click, and so within it, you can see here, create hierarchy. So we're going to create that, and then what we're going to do is we're going to take department decade, and we should be able to just drop it in. We're going to add it to hierarchy right here. And we're going to make sure we hit that one. And then there we go. So now we can see that we have added it into the hierarchy. So instead of just being able to drag and drop it, we have to click on these side bars, the 3 side buttons on more options, and it'll allow us to create it and drop it in. And then what we're going to do is we're just going to go ahead and click on this, and it's going to add it in. And this may take a while, so I'm going to go ahead and. All right, so we finished loading up. So what we can do now is we can go through and we can see the next level of hierarchy and everything. We can click on that, and we can drill down more into the the AR shoes, and now we can see everything within the the description, and we can drill up, which means go ahead and return to that data point that we had. We can drill down, and we have to click it. So it's really kind of weird how it does it with the drill down and everything. So here we are, so we can see all this information. And with that, that should be the end of Lab 4-3. Thank you very much. We'll be moving on to Lab 4-5 next, I believe.